Okay. We're gonna wait till a couple more people fall into here. 1 second.
That's my husband, Glenn.
We'll bring it back. Medication.
All right, and let me let everybody know we are here. All right. Like I said, we'll start probably exactly at 3. Got a couple more minutes. So. I want to see if I can pin this. Okay, it's not letting me, but we'll talk about that a little bit. You guys can grab something to drink. It's gonna be, real less non-formal. I just like to kind of keep it real. We're just gonna touch on some real topics. We're gonna talk about basically shifting your mindset from just being a tax professional, a tax preparer to becoming a tax professional. So that's what today is gonna be about primarily, is basically shifting and that mindset shift to basically accelerate your income, impact, and influence as a new tax preparer. So got a couple more minutes. I'm gonna grab me something to drink and we will get started. All right, always some stuff when it's time to do some stuff. So as you guys are falling in, I probably will mute you and things of that sort, or ask everyone to be muted so that we can kind of get through the presentation and go from there. So we'll start now. So my name is Dosha Harris, and I am the CEO of Tax Right Tax Services. And I have been doing taxes for 5 years now. The agenda we're going to hop into today, I'll just introduce myself a little bit. We'll talk about what I feel is important as a tax professional when you are shifting your mindset from just being a tax preparer or someone who does taxes to being a tax professional. So we'll talk about the business foundation portion of it, like if you are an EFIN holder, and some of the things that I feel like as a new tax preparer, within the last 5 years, that is important to the business foundation portion of it, as well as other things I feel like you should or shouldn't do. As I stated, it is a shift in mindset that you guys have to understand, that you being a tax preparer, you want to be a tax professional. There's a lot more avenues that can be taken as far as opportunities to make money. You're taken way more serious if you're a tax professional. Not saying anything bad about tax preparers. It's just that you want to shift your mindset into thinking it's not just a hustle or anything like that. It is a form of revenue that can, definitely change your life, as well as you have to take it serious. So, yeah, as I stated, my name is Dosha, or Doe the Largest. And I've been doing taxes for about 5 years now. My introduction into taxes was a little bit different, I feel like, from a lot of people. A lot of people's perception of the tax industry is different. So when I started doing taxes, I was doing taxes during the whole COVID um, era. And so everyone, everyone was filing taxes, okay, at that time. And I did end up getting under someone, and I'm not gonna, talk about them personally or the way that they do business, because they did teach me a lot of the tax basics. But it was some things that they ran their business the way that they ran their business, I did not like. Like for instance, after I submit to them and they see opportunity to get the client more money, they would touch the return. And then, the client is getting more money, but I don't know what was changed on the return, so on and so forth. So it was really shady, and I did not want to attach myself anymore. But I did like the hustle, I did like the money. My first year when I was under her, I did 120,000. I did have a split, so I did satisfy that split, and I was just like, okay, this is someone that I did meet through a mutual friend, so I didn't have the tax support group or anything like that in order to kind of locate someone who can provide me the information to become a real tax professional. So this was someone through someone that I knew. But let's just say we decided to part ways on a good note, and I decided to start my own business. With me becoming a tax firm owner at that point, year two, basically, after doing taxes, there was a lot of information I missed. My original mentor did not teach me a lot when it comes to taking your craft serious. I did not know anything about due diligence notes, due diligence, record keeping. There was a lot of stuff that I was not given within that first year on my own. So you live, you learn, and you find other ways to basically rebuild yourself, rebuild your business in order for you to have confidence in it, right? So that's what was done. So for the past couple of years, I have been building and rebranding my business, and things have been amazing because there's just a shift in mindset where you don't want to necessarily keep it a hustle. This is something that can definitely change you and your children's or your family's life as far as you taking it serious. There's tax professionals that's, 10, 15, 20 years in the game. They see seven figures each tax season. So you will want to actually take this very serious because it is a very profitable industry, but because of that, it is very heavily regulated. So, as I stated, I've had, my ups and downs with getting into the tax industry, not being informed enough and not having the tools that I needed. But within the past year, I did find a tax pro group, and that group, along with, certain mentors within the group and people that I've met outside the group, I was able to kind of put something together for other tax professionals that may be in the same seat as me. They may be starting their own tax company, jumping out there on their own, or they just want to make sure that they're running their business right. So I did put something together, and we'll talk about that in a second. So, um, like I stated, I do feel like the business foundation portion of it is very, very important when it comes to building your business. So, what I mean by business formation is you want to make sure that your business looks and feels real. You know what I mean? So, on top of all the marketing tactics that you would have to pick up, so on and so forth, I feel like just the business formation portion of it to make sure that you have your PTIN, that you have your EFIN, that everything, your DBA, your websites are set up properly, your professional email. These are all things that separate you from just someone who does taxes. For instance, when you are, um, shopping or when a client is actually shopping for a tax professional, they may like, hey, do you offer free quotes? And they might hit you up. And if you have a process that makes everything simple for them, it's a very professional feel. 9 times out of 10, that client will file with you. But if you're like, okay, send me your documents and you're sending them a Gmail, or they don't have any type of tools in order to upload things to make it feel professional, then 9 times out of 10, they're going to not take you as serious as the next tax professional. So it's all about having that business formation in order to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success. You know what I mean? So I do suggest going to GoDaddy and purchasing you a domain. Once you purchase that domain, you have the option to add a professional email. And that's how I normally start or help any of my mentors with their mentorship is first and foremost, you need that professional email that kind of secures your steps, and it's also essential for business funding as well. So setting up that business email, making sure that you have a virtual address. Some people have physical addresses. That's completely fine. But you always want to make sure that you have these tools in order to separate you from, the next person. And that's not to down talk anyone or anything that they do. It's just more so to make sure that you are gathering the right clientele. You don't want the clients that shop around a lot. You don't want the clients that are unsure if they want to file with you because they're going to be, wasting your time. And so the number one thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that the process feels seamless. So having your business in order as far as the formation portion of it, make sure your P10 is active each year, EFIN is up to date with your address, phone number. Make sure that your EFIN information is always up to date, because from what I hear is that if it is not up to date as far
Así como, espérate, ponme la se oye así como balazo.
as
Así es.
coming in, I'm gonna just mute you. Anywho, so if your address and phone number are not accurate on e-services, I'm hearing that they deactivate EFIN. So I just suggest making sure that, you do maybe a quarterly check on making sure that everything is in order as far as your business formation, your LLC, your business bank account, all that matters. You know what I mean? So for a lot of the new tax professionals, they are finding other ways in order to kind of go around that. And when you're first new in the industry, it's definitely understandable. You're new, you're not sure exactly how to step into it. So, now that and you will want to make some of those changes to make everything a little bit more easier for you going forward, as well as for your clients. And so, like I stated, like the software and the branding essentials is going to go along with the business formation. I do come across a lot of tax professionals where they're using other softwares, like for instance, Free Tax USA, and they are preparing the tax refund as a self-prepared return. And for me, that's a big no-no. And if you want to shift your mindset from being a tax preparer or someone who does taxes, that's number one, is that you want to make sure you have your proper software and your branding essentials correct. So you want to make sure that you actually have software to take your tax prep fees directly out of the refund. I'm not into the business of chasing people down and trying to find them for them to pay me and things of that sort. So it just makes everything a lot easier. And most people in the tax professional group, they do have their business formation together. They do have their software or their branding essentials correct. But as I stated, it is kind of a how-to book for new tax professionals on my experience on how to basically shift that mindset from being a tax preparer or someone who does taxes to actually shifting to a tax professional. So like I stated, the shift is where you build it and you treat it like a business from day one. So you got to find your tax niche. You got to figure out exactly what type of clientele you're going for. You got to find all these things out so that you know exactly who you're marketing to, because 9 times out of 10, if you do taxes, marketing is where it's at. You're not going to go far if you're scared to put a post up there every day. If you're scared to, get in front of the camera or whatever the case may be, because me, myself, I'm not a person that, well, I do like to get in front of the camera, but speaking in front of the camera is a little bit different for me. So I have to, throw that out the window because nowadays a lot of the girls are going reels. We're going Instagram reels. They're going TikTok. They're trying to get forms in order to reach masses. So that's also a big thing with, being a new tax professional is you have to kind of understand the social media portion of it. So you got to market yourself. You can't be scared. Yes, everybody does taxes. So do you. Keep on putting your post up there. That's just how you're going to win. And so, like I stated, that first shift you want to is to build it and treat it like a business from day one and find your tax niche. So I do want to go ahead and drop um in the chat. I did drop my website. So I do have the URL tax firm to go bundle. For this call only, I'm going to drop a code where you guys can get it for 88% off. So normally it's like $4.99. This tax firm bundle has a white label tax course. So you can take the information that's provided on the tax course and you can put it on whatever type of platform that you would like to. And you can basically teach taxes as well as hire, so on and so forth. This actually has a security plan, an engagement letter template, P10 EFIN assistant, so on and so forth. So it has a lot of things that would help a new tax professional basically rebuild and build their business and shift that mindset to actually being that number one tax professional in your area instead of just being a tax preparer. So as I stated, you can hop on there, mysofttaxlife.com. You can go through some of the digital products, but the URL tax firm to go bundle is the one that I currently have a code going for, and I will drop it in the chat as well. So that is the code, and it's about, I think it's like $59 after you use that code. So take advantage of it. So going forward, I said we was going to talk about a lot of different things. One thing I wanted to make sure I talked about with my new tax professionals is the shady credits and the excessive expenses. As I stated, I did start under someone, and I'm not going to call them shady. I don't really talk about how other people run their businesses, but I was taught some shady things. So stepping into my own business and starting that first year and not having that mentorship anymore because we did decide to part ways, I did not have the information I'm providing you guys now. As far as like the shady credits, the fuel credits and boosters and stuff like that, I'm not even trained to apply those to tax refunds. So I just try to steer anybody that wants to take their tax firm serious, is to steer clear from them unless that client really is deserving of that credit. And at that point, you will have all the necessary documentation. You will have all the forms, you will have everything in order to apply that credit. And then I do suggest that you guys get additional additional learning materials when it comes to that credit. So for instance, if you have someone who actually does deserve and rightfully able to claim the fuel credit, you need to make sure you have additional training in that credit so that you're applying it correctly and that you're actually hitting everything that you need to do when applying that credit. Because certain credits like that, shady credits, they're scrutinized by the IRS. And what I like to tell a lot of my tax professionals, like, because I do teach taxes, I do offer mentorship, and I do hire for tax professionals as well. So a lot of what I teach them is that you are offering a service, not a refund. I skipped over that, and I need to just go dial back a little bit because that is very important. You are offering a service. You're not offering a refund. Everybody is not deemed a refund. So everyone is not going to get a refund. It's dependent upon their tax situation and whatever the documents say. That's what they are eligible for. Whenever you're putting the documents in and you have that number pop up minus the fee, that's what they're eligible for. So I try to steer a lot of my tax professionals away from shady credits, and the excessive expenses is something as well. If you are a real tax professional, you can kind of see based off of the numbers or the refund amounts if someone's playing with numbers or they're using excessive expenses. Because based off of, the annual whatever situation the IRS puts out every year, there is a max for, these certain credits, refundable credits, which in most cases are the earned income credit, the child tax credit, the child dependent credit, and some educational credits. So each year, that information is annually updated. So if you have someone who's showing, yes, I will drop that in the chat. It should be inside the chat, but I'll drop it again. It's mysofttaxlife.com and use code Mayday and it'll give you 88% off. As I stated, the excessive expenses. So if you are a tax professional and you see someone and they're like, I just got my client back $18,000, da 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 da. 9 times out of 10, they were playing with numbers. So playing with numbers or using excessive expenses, that's when you take the information or the documentation and you're entering it in, but there is an opportunity to get your client more money. So you use excessive expenses to lower that tax liability and push the refund up. That's EITC abuse. And I really try to steer a lot of my tax professionals away from it because first and foremost, you do have clients that are eligible for expenses. They do go to work and they have a W-2 or they're a 1099 worker. And then on top of that, they do have a business and they do need to, take away the expenses from paying for rent, for paying, and we're not talking about like actual rent, we're talking about office rent. And so on and so forth. So you don't want to, make it so that you're abusing these credits, and then the people that is actually eligible for the credits are not able to use them under you because you have excessively exhausted, basically your situation. And what I mean by that is the IRS is not stupid. They can see your returns. They can see how much of the earned income is applied for each client. And if you're using excessive expenses or you're maxing all your clients out, your numbers are going to look like that. So, next to your EFIN, all your numbers are going to show maxed out, and not everybody is eligible a refund, especially a maxed out refund where it's the same numbers. So you have to make sure that you're servicing your client to the best of your ability by just providing the information to the IRS that you're given. You don't want to play with numbers. You don't want to add excessive expenses. You want to ask all the necessary questions to see if your client is eligible for expenses. If they are a W-2 worker and they have a high tax liability, you want to always navigate that for your client, but do not abuse it. There is another thing, the Schedule C. You want to correctly learn how to do a Schedule C. Schedule Cs are for your self-employment clients, and that goes along with the earned income, the EITC abuse. So there's clients that, they don't work or whatever the case may be, and you're like, hey, I can still get you a refund, and you're just throwing numbers in there on a Schedule C. That is playing with numbers, and that will get you messed up. So as I stated, you want to provide the IRS the information that you're provided. So as a tax professional, you are still supposed to navigate, hey, how are you making money? I braid a little hair. Okay, if you braid hair, okay, do you have, a client book? Do you know how many clients you've seen? How are you keeping track of your expenses? These are ways to find out if your client is really eligible for that tax refund. So just because someone doesn't work and they do have self-employment doesn't mean that they're not eligible, but you have to put yourself in a position to correctly set that Schedule C up. If you're sitting up here throwing a whole bunch of Schedule Cs up there, I can get you a refund, and you're just throwing numbers in there because once you start messing with the software, you kind of can see exactly, how much is needed in order to populate a refund. And you're putting all your Schedule Cs at 19,800 is going to is going to alert the IRS, okay, something's wrong. Why is everybody having the same income? Why is everybody maxed out? Because in some situations, you know, you're going to have a client that's eligible for a $7,000 refund. In some situations, you might have a client that's eligible for a $1,500 refund. And, you know, basically they can see all that. They can see exactly kind of what type of trends that you're following. So if you want to shift your mindset from just being a tax preparer and making it a hustle, that's number one. What you want to do is make sure that you're not applying shady credits if they're not eligible, you're not excessively applying expenses, and you're not selling refunds. That's what you're not here to do. Guess what? Some people are eligible for a refund and some people aren't. So if you're eligible for one, I will definitely help you navigate the tax situation and we'll go ahead and apply you for the refund. Now, once the IRS has the information and let's say you owe them, that has nothing to do with you. You as a tax professional, you take the information from the client, you prepare it and you submit it to the IRS. That's what you do. You do not you do not issue payments, so on and so forth. So I think just kind of being transparent with your client, letting them know that is the number one thing with being transparent with the client is just, hey, look, this is what's going on. This is what you're eligible for. If they're like, oh, my old tax professional always gives me $10,000. Okay, and that's fine. You know what I mean? You don't argue with the client or anything like that. Well, based off of the information you gave me, this is the tax refund. I got you. So once you're doing that and you're basically setting a expectation, then you are canceling out that high expectation, high risk type of behavior. Because what you'll do is you'll start attracting a whole bunch of clients who wants you to, oh, I need the booster. I need the excessive expenses. I need $15,000 this year. I need $20,000. And they're setting a high expectation for you and you're not even able to uphold it because, I mean, if you're like me, you do not want to risk your freedom or your business for anybody else's gain. So with you basically shifting your mindset into becoming a tax professional and not just a tax preparer who applies shady credit, who doesn't sign tax returns, so on and so forth, is basically setting that expectation with your client. Hey, this is what you're going to get. You know, it may seem a little bit low this year, but at least you know it's done correctly and you won't have anything come up in, you know, in a couple years, whatever the case may be. So you're setting an expectation so that you're not in the business of having this high expectation risk from these clients, because I'm not even gonna hold you. These clients will leave you out to dry. The second things get shifty, they don't care and they will leave you out to dry. So they may be your friend right now, they may be your client that's down for you right now, but honey, when it gets down to it, you know, they're clients. They're gonna be there for themselves or whatever the case may be. So sorry, I'm just kind of making sure everybody's muted here. Okay. Yeah, so that's number for sure outside of the business formation is the shady credits, excessive expenses. Let's just stay away from that. Like I stated, you want to navigate the tax landscape for your client to see if they are eligible for any expenses. If they are someone who works a job, but they also run a business and they did have expenses, you know, they do hair on the side, they had to, you know, purchase supplies, they had to remodel something, whatever the situation may be for their client, you still need to navigate it, but just make sure that you're not using super excessive expenses in order to secure that client. Because guess what? Once you get them funded out, because 9 times out of 10, how the IRS does it, they'll fund you out this time, this time, this time, but then on that 4th time, they're like, oh, okay, I need some more information because they're seeing a trend in the way that you're submitting your clients, so on and so forth. So shift, you want to turn those short-term gains that are not worth the short-term, the long-term risk. So you need to trust your ethics and you want to make them your biggest marketing tool. I know for me, when I rebuilt my business, I believe that was my biggest marketing tool is that I did believe in the continual education. Me and my business is listed on IRS. I do try to make sure that I do everything, to the best of my knowledge based off of what was given to me for my business. And that is going to be your biggest marketing tool ever because you want to make sure that your funding rate is through the roof. You want to build that banking relationship to the point where you have a bank that you deal with and you're able to, get those advances and so on and so forth. Because when you're doing these shady credits and these excessive expenses, fuel credits, boosters, and stuff like that, or you're playing with numbers or you're just throwing stuff on a Schedule C without actually properly setting it up, then that is going to eventually trickle down to your banking situation. Because once you get below a funding rate, then they don't want to, offer you the advances. And everyone starts to see a trend in the way that you conduct business. So it's just important to shift the way that you think and the way that you conduct business in order to have some longevity in this industry. Okay, we're done talking about the credits. And I wanted to put a quote up here. Business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. Just because that client is not, oh, well, at this point, okay, thank you for that question, Ray. We'll talk about that in a second. I wanted to drop this in here. Business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. Just because there is a client out there and she's like, hey, I don't want to file with you because I need 10,000 back this year, or whatever the case may be, that is okay. You trusted your gut. You are, taking your dignity first, and that client can walk over to someone and be someone else's problem because 9 times out of 10, when you're throwing a whole bunch of stuff on there, they're not going to get funded anyway. So there's always a new client coming. You do taxes. There's so many people in this world. So just because someone doesn't want to do taxes with you does not mean that you won't have any clients that year. Just stand on your ethics and stand on your dignity when it comes down to it. So there's always going to be another client, just like, buses. There's always going to be another one coming. So always stand firm in what you believe in and how you want to focus your business, and you'll always come out on top. Yeah, yes, it might take a little time, because I feel like the girls that are doing taxes that are newly in the tax industry within the past, 5 years, it's kind of different for us because there is a lot of scammers out there. There is a lot of people that are, ghost preparers. There is a lot of people that believe in the expenses. There's a lot of people that, hey, I can get you to 30,000. And so that makes you want to compete with them. But what you got to understand is shifting your mindset. There is no competition with people like that because, yes, they might get all the clients this year, next year, and the year after that. But what you're looking to set yourself up for is longevity. Because guess what? Sooner than later, people are going to start getting letters in the mail and they're going to start owing a whole bunch of stuff with penalties and blasting people on Facebook. You don't have anything to do with that because you stood on your ethics and you were able to kind of navigate away from a situation like that. So always know that business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. So just because that client did not want to finalize with you does not mean that you won't get the next person too, because a lot of people understand transparency, truthfulness, and just let them know, hey, this is what you're eligible for. And if I say no, it's a reason, like you don't want to involve yourself in risky behavior for the client's, payment. All right. And then Ray, how do you start building the banking relationship? I'm not sure if you're a P10 holder or EFIN holder, but basically starting the banking relationship or building the banking relationship is once you secure your software and you apply for those banks or those banking products, that's when you first come in contact with the banking portion of it. And that's how you start building that banking relationship. You want to make sure that your funding rate is through the roof, that they can see that the type of business that you are building, that your clients are getting funded. Like I believe my service, most of my service bureaus under me or my EFINs, they are 100% funding rate. And that's always a great thing. And I have like 95% because I have a few people who haven't received their tax return because they filed late. But building that funding rate, yes, building that funding rate is building that business relationship. So like when I first started, rebuilding my business, I was with one bank. And the first year, yes, it was good. I was over the funding rate. I'm able to, offer advances, but it was in the lower goods because I didn't have the necessary training that I needed in order to, kind of jump out there, but it was something that I really wanted. So if something that you want, what you do, you scale back, you learn more about it, and you get serious about it. You have a shift in your mindset, and that's exactly what this webinar is about. Okay. And yeah, those clients are going to be the one that's going to be a headache. They're going to want you to fix the other, scammer clients' mistakes. They want you to amend them off. And then with amendments, 9 times out of 10, you cannot get your payment up throughout the refund. You got to ask for a payment up front. They don't want to pay that. So it's a big headache that you don't want to put yourself in as a tax professional, right? Because you're at this webinar. You're not a tax preparer. You're not just someone who does taxes. You're a professional because you obviously have some interest in setting everything up correctly, right? So yeah, let them know, hey, this is, this is what it is. The more stern you are with how you run your business, the more they'll come back. So what that means is if you let them know, hey, I'm not able to, assist you with that, and then they go to the next preparer and that next preparer messes up their tax return, 9 times out of 10, they're going to come to you like, oh, I should have listened to you. How can I fix this situation? I try to stray away from amendments and stuff like that because go back to the people who messed your taxes up. But next year, 9 times out of 10, they're going to come to you because they're like, okay, last year, people was playing with my stuff. I want my money. So just stay diligent and make sure that you're doing what you need to do and they'll come back. Might take them a couple years, whatever the case may be, but you're looking for longevity, right? So you'll be here in a couple years. You'll be able to still file taxes while everybody else isn't. So another thing I wanted to brush up on is continuing education. Continuing education is what really took me from preparer to pro. I understood exactly what is required from the IRS, from us, so that we are able to, continuously do taxes. And that definitely helped me so much. Okay. And that helped me so much as far as being teachable. If you're one of these people that you know everything about taxes and oh, I know how to do this, I know how to do that, the industry is not going to be good to you because things are constantly changing in this industry, and you have to constantly be teachable. You have to always make sure that you're able to retain information because, like I said, the tax laws change, the industry changes, and you don't want to be a person that's just stuck in the way that they do things because things change. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure the girls that's been doing taxes for 10 plus years will tell you, hey, the industry is completely different now than it was back 10 years ago. And you have to be able to, if you are meeting someone in the same industry, you got to understand we are not in competition with one another. We need to band together and actually learn together. And that's what's going to keep this industry thriving, and it's going to keep us getting us paid. So, we have to kind of come together and put this information out there for other tax professionals so that we are able to continuously do taxes because, it's getting to the point they're like, okay, y'all doing all this stuff. We're just going to take the ability to do taxes from you guys. And I wouldn't want that for nobody. So yes, spread education and knowledge. That's the number one thing. And like I said, be teachable, stay sharp. Those laws change annually. You can't go into the new tax season without updating your information as far as like, okay, what's your, what the filing status is, what the maximum is for, the earned credit and, what the standard deduction is. Those are things that change annually and you have to update yourself. So you always have to be teachable and stay sharp. Things change in this industry all the time. And you always have time to perfect your craft. The tax season is only from January to, about April. You can file all the way up until October. But most of the busy season is January to April. So you have a lot of other off time to learn, to, hop in these groups and take these free webinars like you currently are. Like, to hop in these groups and network with other tax professionals because they may know something about the industry that you don't. I have a lot of people on my page that do taxes, and it's not because I want a whole bunch of people on my page doing taxes, because you have to stay teachable. A lot of these people, a lot of these girls are seven, figure owners, and I want to make sure that I'm up to date with even how they, market, being teachable. These are, mentors that I want to, get mentorship from. You're not investing in mentorship to invest in that person. You're investing in you and your knowledge. So me as a mentor, yes, I may get mentorship from someone who is, ahead of me. So it's just all about that movement, and just making sure that you are constantly staying up to date with the laws. There are IRS forums as well. A lot of people know all this information, but some people don't. So there are IRS forums. The IRS does host forums every year. And this year, because I moved from a very, very small town, so I'm now in a bigger town, I'm able to actually go to these IRS forums because my situation is a little different. I am the mother of a disabled child. So I'm not able to leave him a lot. So now that I'm in a bigger city and I'm not far from a lot of other places, I can actually attend these forums. So you have to constantly, perfect your craft. Go to these forums. If you're not able to hit the forums up, the IRS always hosts free online webinars, and you're able to get continuing education credits just for attending. So the more continuing education credits you get, the more wiser you will be within the industry. So I always suggest, if the IRS has a webinar, it's free. Why not? It's more information directly from the IRS's mouth. So you have the ability, you have all the tools here right in front of you. It's up to you if you're going to actually take the time to apply it to your business, right? There is something called the annual filing season program. That is a great tool, I feel like, when it comes to shifting your mindset from tax preparer or someone who does taxes to a tax professional. This would give you all of the necessary information when it comes down to due diligence, what's required from you from the IRS in order to properly conduct a tax firm or to do taxes or to receive payment for doing taxes, should I say. So the annual filing season program is something I highly suggest for anybody who wants to change your mindset from tax preparer or someone who does taxes to a tax professional. So I do suggest that within my bundle, I do list who I go through and so on and so forth, a couple other places that you can participate in the annual filing season program. And that is really something really good to have under your belt. You're able to go on the IRS website and just make sure that you're listening and learning so much and applying it to your business, because they'll tell you, hey, this is what we're looking for. This is these are things that trigger us. This is, what it means to run your business with integrity. So always make sure that you're eligible to be teachable and to get that continuing education together. All right, and we only had an hour, so I can talk forever. I am a talker. So we have probably 2 more slides, so we'll be out of here on time, but then I'll open it up for some questions if you guys have some questions. And then, I'll do my shameless plug, drop my website again, and then we will go from there. So as I stated with that continued education, you just have to shift that mindset. I am a tax professional. I provide, people with a service. I don't sell tax refunds. I'm not just a preparer. And being able to separate yourself and getting a continuing education and doing that annual filing season and going to IRS forums, it's all about taking time to perfect your craft. And if you are looking at, 6-figure seasons, 7-figure seasons, why aren't you perfecting your craft? You need to go and, make it so that you're able to still get this money for you and your family, but so that you're also being teachable, that you're also learning and updating all your information, because knowledge is powerful, you guys. All right. And lastly, due diligence. So, as I stated, when I first started doing taxes, I was up under a company and they did not teach me due diligence. It wasn't something that I learned about until I actually received a few letters from the IRS stating, hey, we need to well, they didn't request for me like a preparer audit or anything like that, but they do send outreach letters about due diligence. So I did receive one of those letters when I first started out on my own. I'm like, what is this? So the first thing you do is you Google it, you put it in the Google for, IRS due diligence, and they have a free module right then and there. Hey, this is what we're looking for, this is what we need. So that information is out there. I did include it in this slide as well. If you guys need it, just don't hesitate. You can always Google it, the EITC IRS. There's free modules on there for preparers, and they do talk about exactly what's required from the IRS as a preparer. So yeah, you don't want to wait until you start getting those letters and are selected for a preparer audit before you take it serious. Shifting your mindset into thinking this is just a side hustle. No, this is a job, right? This is a career. This is a career path. And with careers, you take everything serious. So if you are starting to get those letters, or you have gotten those letters, or you know somebody who has gotten those letters, you have to make sure you're doing what you're doing in order, or what you're doing wrong, so that you're not getting the letters no more. And so that you are keeping up with what you need to do, right? So I suggest taking that module. It's free. It's right on the IRS website. If you haven't taken it, no problem. It's okay. Just go take it. Due diligence notes. I was not taught about due diligence notes either. For me, due diligence notes is basically just a capture of the conversation that went on between you and the client in order to secure what you're submitting to the IRS. So that just covers your butt as a tax professional. The client provided me with this head of household, child live with client all 12 months out the year, so on and so forth. So it's basically for you. This is what happened during the interview process. This is what happened. This is the information that I asked. This is the information that was provided to me. And, a lot of people say you can go get as detailed as you like, or you can make it as general as you like. I try to cover all the bases, like, for instance, filing status, whether or not the children live with them all 12 months out the year, if they have self-employment, how many years they do self-employment, how they receive their earnings, stuff like that. You can get as detailed as you like, or you can get as general as you like, but you got to understand these are the notes that someone was to look at if they were going through the file. So you want to clearly read what happened between you and the client by these notes. So yes, do due diligence, do your due diligence notes, make sure that you're doing your record keeping. A lot of people, if they're new professionals, they're not EFIN holders, so they don't have to worry about the record keeping. As I, told you guys when I first started doing taxes, I did not do due diligence or do the record keeping because I wasn't an EFIN holder. So I didn't really know. So going into that next year, and I didn't have a mentor or this group in order to steer me, I was still doing things the way that I was taught, and I did not do record keeping. So once you inform yourself and you update yourself on the knowledge, you want to fix the mistakes, right? So you go and you try to get your record keeping together. I mean, it's okay. If you're not doing this, it doesn't mean that your tax life is over. What it means is that now that you can go back, you can retract, and you can start getting your stuff in order. Because the thing with tax professionals, people's like, oh, I don't have an audit. I never had an audit. If you're like me and you want to have a seven figure season eventually, you may get a few audits because of how many returns you're pushing out. They may want to look at some. So you're not like, oh, I'm not getting an audit. You're preparing yourself in the event of an audit. So with the due diligence, it's not, oh, I'm thinking I'm going to get audited. It's more so preparing yourself because this is a part of the business. This is a very heavy regulated business because of how much money people make with this, right? H&R Block, they're not walking inside of H&R Block and pulling out a sheet of paper and asking them to see their files, right? Because they're a big business. They're more so focused on people like me and you. Oh, this person is, made seven figures. I need to look at their files and see if everything was done correctly. So yes, there may be a little bit of scrutiny because we are not big corporations, but it's okay because it's something that you can handle. It's something that you can adjust. It's something that you can actually change, right? So yes, if you have issues with your record keeping or you don't know exactly what's required, that information is inside of my toolkit as well. So we talk about your banking relationship with the banks, your record keeping, your due diligence. It's pretty much a laid out, step for all of my new tax professionals. So I wanted to make sure that I provided that to you guys because my journey into the industry has been very, very amazing. I'm not gonna lie. I would like to call myself a rising star in this industry because, I was able to build and rebuild my business all by myself, but with the help of this group as well as other people. So I don't just take it, hey, it's just me and all that stuff or whatever. It's going to be a group of people who's helped me change the way that I think and the way I run my business. So shout out to everybody in the Tax Pro group and everybody I've bought things from and things like that. So like I stated, it's not about, oh, I don't want to get audited. If you are like me and you want to have a seven figure season, I'm not saying, hey, you will get audited if you push those numbers out, but 9 times out of 10, the more tax returns you have, the higher chances of being audited. So you want to prepare yourself in case of an audit to make sure that, you're not getting into those due diligence fines and so on and so forth. Because from my understanding, they can go through your files. If your files aren't in order, they can charge you a very expensive amount per file. And, you have tax preparers whose due diligence fines are 40,000, 50,000, 80,000, so on and so forth. So you don't want to put yourself in a hole like that. You just want to shift your thinking right now and go back and change the things that were not taught to you, so on and so forth. So just shift your mindset. If not now, then when? You don't want to wait until something happens in order to get, ready. You want to shift your mindset right now in order to take it serious. And so that if someone was to come knocking or you do receive a letter, you feel confident in the work that you produce and you feel confident in, meeting with these people because for the simple fact of, like I stated, it's a very heavily regulated industry and it has a lot of right to because there's a lot of people that make a lot of money in this industry. So get on board, get in the room, make sure you're doing everything that you need to be doing, and you'll be completely fine. I promise you. I'm someone who rebuilt their business from ground up, so it can definitely be done. And I think that is what I have for you guys. So like I stated, the ultimate final shift that you want to do is going to be the ultimate mindset shift and strategy transformation for every new tax professional to serve with confidence. I think with me, the biggest thing that I had to learn is that you have to have confidence in the work that you're producing. If you're not confident in what you're putting out there and you got people that are talking stuff about taxes or talking about, oh my gosh, I can't get my taxes and stuff like that because of the work that you're producing, it's not going to have you confident. You putting all these things aligned with running your business is going to make sure that you have the confidence to produce good work. You know what I mean? So having confidence is a big thing when it comes to dealing with people's information and so on and so forth. If you're confident, you have the stats to show it, 9 times out of 10, they're going to pick you. They might not be today because of the, all the scamming and stuff like that, but you will be there when it comes down to them wanting a clean return because you're going to have longevity if you put all of these things in the forefront and put all those shady behaviors in the back. So I am pretty much done. I'll open it. If you guys have any questions, we can definitely talk. We got about 10 minutes. So I'll give you guys the floor. If not, we'll get up out of here. But just let me know what you guys are thinking. Okay, so it seems like everybody is understanding. So yeah, thank you so much for coming and talking with me with my webinar. Like I stated, as a tax professional, you want to make sure that you're giving back to the community and that you're teaching. Asia, I will actually have a replay available and I'll actually do it the same way. Um, the replay, I'll put a code on there and I'll post it in the group so that you guys can purchase the replay. So yes, I can
Thank you.
of course, of course. So yeah, like I said, you have to make sure that you're doing what you need to do as a tax professional because you're not a tax preparer no more. You're not a person that does taxes. You're a professional, and you're going to treat your business the way that needs to be taught. So, thank you guys for coming and talking with me, and I will drop all my information into the chat. And I'll have that replay available on my website here in about an hour. And thank you guys so much. And you guys have a great day today.
Thank you so much.
Uh-huh. Of course.
Thank
Bye.
you as well. You have a great rest of your evening.
You as well. Bye.